Oh, give me land, lots of land, under starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze and listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you, please don't.
By the late 1930s, it's hard to think of a singer in America who isn't singing Crosby. In fact, somebody at that point was asked about band singers, and he said, there are only two kinds of band singers. There are the high bings and the low bings.
I think socially, he was a big influence on not only singers, but everybody in America, because Bing's whole philosophy was, let's put a pipe in my mouth and let's go fishing and let's play a little golf and let's relax. Come on, relax.
In Hollywood, California, a golfing extravaganza with war bond sales as the objective. Bing Crosby leads off.
It was left to Bing Crosby to provide the troops with the perfect sentimental anthem.
Get my good side.
White Christmas was more than just a hit record. It was a social phenomenon of the time. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that Berlin's lyric, he didn't realize it at the time. Nobody did. But it was just so perfect for the moment.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops.
Irving Berlin's lyric originally evoked the feelings of a New Yorker stranded in California. But when Crosby dropped a verse, the song took on a whole new meaning.
Here we have all these servicemen out of the country. Many of them are going to lose their lives or see their friends lose their lives. And this wasn't a song, this wasn't the traditional Christmas song. This was, I'm dreaming of being at home with my family. I mean, a lot of these guys from the South, they didn't even know from what snow was, but it didn't matter because that's part of the mythology, the blanket of snow on the lawn and the warmth that it suggests.
And may all your Christmases be white.
It is the best-selling record of all time. It sold something like, 60 million copies. For 16 years, think about this, for 16 years, it made the top 40. No other record ever came close.
Believe it or not, he was bigger than Paul McCartney, Elvis Presley, the Rolling Stones, and Elton John all put together. He was bigger than all of them. I mean, it was almost sacrilegious to say anything negative about Bing.
They'll say it's all right.
Bing may have recorded White Christmas in 1942, but for most people, the decade belonged to a new voice.
We're in love.
The important thing about Sinatra's emergence is that he's the first singer to come along, first really gifted pop singer to come along in 10 years who doesn't sound like Bing. And Bing knew it immediately.
Who the hell sent you here, Sinatra? No. Sinatra had nothing to do with this, and I wouldn't talk that way about Sinatra.
I don't mean to malign Mr. Sinatra, because I'm a great fan of his, a great admirer of his private and public life.
And furthermore, singers like Sinatra come once in a lifetime.
Why did he have to come along in my lifetime?
Saturday night is the loneliest night of the week. I sing the song that I sang for the memories I usually see, until I hear you at the door, until you're in my arms once more. Saturday night is the loneliest night of the week.
In the classic tradition, Sinatra learned his craft with big bands like Tommy Dorsey and Harry James, but he also had Crosby's path as a solo performer to follow.
He didn't dismiss what Crosby had done, he just sort of extended it. Where Crosby had been intimate and vulnerable, to a degree, Sinatra was even more intimate and even more vulnerable.
I'm so afraid.
very free with his emotions, and he sings all about love, and he's just always, in every case, he's just completely putting his heart in his sleeve, the way Crosby had never elected to go. Crosby was, there was emotion there, but he never wanted to stand there emotionally naked.
I hope I never wake up.
Billie Holiday was able to put her own experience into a song, and Sinatra really learned from that. But again, he was able to go in all kinds of directions and be able to express all kinds of things that, that Billie Holiday would never have been interested in doing. He's just such a great actor. I mean, he knows how to get everything you can out of a lyric. He knows how to make it come alive for you.
Sometimes I wonder why I spend the lonely nights dreaming of a song, the melody haunts my reverie, and I am once again with you. When our love was new, and each kiss an inspiration. But that was long ago, and now my consolation lies in the stardust of a song.
Sinatra, wow, I mean, he would, he was 10 years my elder, so I mean, I was one of the teenagers that swooned along with the girls and everybody, and I couldn't believe how beautiful he sang. He had this golden voice.
Sinatra was the first singer to generate the kind of fan hysteria later seen in rock and roll, a phenomenon his publicists were quick to cash in on. But when the war ended, America entered a new phase. And as the soldiers came home, Sinatra changed his style to reach out beyond the young women who until then had been his main fan base.
He was marketed so much toward women. This made sense then because there weren't a lot of men around anyway. They were all in the army, young men anyway. But in 1945, all of the men come back.
Basically, the first wave of Sinatrama, as it was called, starts to wear off. And that's because he'd been doing what he'd been doing, sort of the same kind of thing, for a little bit too long. And the public was sort of getting tired of it.
Just give me 5 minutes and I'll have the other number ready. I get a smoke. Next number, boys.
Suddenly he completely remakes himself with a whole different kind of attitude, because he comes back as the ultimate virile guy, with the trench coat over the shoulder and the fedora with the wide brand and the cigarette in one hand and the Jack Daniels in the other. He's Mr. Virility suddenly. He's a completely different character. And it's important that men were his primary audience at this point. Women still loved him too, but now it was a pansexual response. You can't, just as in this country, you can't get elected to president unless some Democrats and some Republicans vote for you. You can't really be a superstar unless you have both genders.
So set 'em up, Joe. I got a little story you ought to know.
Every song that Sinatra does was like a 3-act play. He assumes a character and makes you believe in it. He really makes you feel it, and it's almost Stanislavskian.
Of a brief episode, make it one for my baby, and one more for the road.
Sinatra's makeover as mature man of the world saw him embracing the classic American songbook and in breathing new life into the work of writers like George Gershwin, Richard Rodgers, Cole Porter, and here Harold Arlen and Johnny Mercer. He proved that the performance could be as significant as the song itself. In fact, his interpretation of standards was often so definitive it became impossible to separate the song from the singer.
If you study the early Capitol records, the ones that really made Sinatra the superstar that he became, they are all classic standards. Some of them are 20 years old. I mean, he really went through the classic American songbook. He really chose the cream of the cream. And that's one of the reasons that those records last forever.
She's mad about me. I get no kick in a plane.
From bit part players in the band, singers grew to become the stars of the show, and pop music would never be without them again.
Is my idea of nothing to do, but I get a kick. You give me a boot, I get a kick out of you.